And this morning, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders announced he will run again for the Democratic nomination in the 2020 presidential race. The three-term independent senator revealed his plans in an email. He said his goal will be, quote, transforming our country and creating a government based on the principles of economic, social, racial, and what he says, environmental justice.
The 77-year-old former mayor and former congressman is the 10th candidate to join the most diverse Democratic Party field in U.S. history. That's very different from 4 years ago when Sanders and former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley were the major opponents to Hillary Clinton, her only major opponents. Only on CBS this morning, we spoke to Sanders about taking another shot at the presidency and why he believes this campaign will succeed. So, Senator Sanders, you're going to run for president.
I am going to run for president. That's correct.
What's going to be different this time?
We're going to win. We are going to also launch what I think is unprecedented in modern American history, and that is a grassroots movement, John, to lay the groundwork for transforming the economic and political life of this country. That's what's different.
And that's your theory, which is that without the groundswell, without the grassroots, you can't change the politics in Washington.
That's exactly right. Look, John. Somebody can come before you and say, look, I want to do A and I want to do B, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, the only way that real change takes place is when millions of people stand up, fight back, and say, enough is enough. We're going to have a government that works for all of us, not just the few. But bottom line for me is I think it is absolutely imperative that Donald Trump be defeated, because I think it is unacceptable and un-American, to be frank with you, that we have a president who is a pathological liar, and it gives me no pleasure to say that, but it's true. We have a president who is a racist, who is a sexist, who is a xenophobe, who is doing what no president in our lifetimes has come close to doing, and that is trying to divide us up.
But all of your opponents will say, we've got to get Donald Trump out of the White House. That's not your distinguishing characteristic, so...
That is not my distinguishing characteristic. I think what I am very proud of, and in a sense, this campaign, John, is a continuation of what we did in 2016. You will recall, you may recall, that in 2016, many of the ideas that I talked about, Medicare for all, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, making public colleges and universities tuition-free, all of those ideas, people will say, oh, Bernie, they're so radical, they are extreme. The American people just won't accept those ideas. Well, you know what's happened in over 3 years? All of those ideas and many more are now part of the political mainstream.
So you're saying the party came your way?
Well, I don't want to say that. I think most people would say that.
Is that your argument then against your competitors, which is, I was Medicare for all before Medicare for all was cool?
I guess that's one way of looking at it, but it's no. I know many of the people, certainly the senators who are running, and without exception, I am fond of them. They are, in some cases, my friends.
Let me ask you on your Medicare for all. You have talked about the fact that polls show 70% are in favor of Medicare for all. But that number drops to 37 if somebody hears private insurance is going to go away, which is what your plan offers. So I guess my question is, you're offering something that the polling shows people can get very spooked very quickly about.
No, well, but that's because we're going to be taking on the insurance companies and the drug companies who are going to spend a whole lot of money distorting what we believe in. The bottom line is the average middle-class family will save money, will spend less money on health care, will have more choice, and have broader coverage than is currently the case.
The other challenge to your health care plan will be cost. People will say, my goodness, there's no way everybody's going to get covered, and
John,
some of the estimates that come out.
No, I need you in the media to help us explain the truth.
Yeah.
No more out-of-pocket expenses. No more deductibles. The cost of prescription drugs is going to go down. We expand the kinds of coverage available for senior citizens. It's a good deal.
Howard Schultz has now said he would not run as an independent if the Democrats nominate a moderate.
Oh, isn't that nice? Why is Howard Schultz on every television station in this country? Why are you quoting Howard Schultz? Because he's a billionaire, all right? There are a lot of people I know personally who work hard for a living, who make $40,000, $50,000 a year, who know a lot more about politics than, in all due respect, does Mr. Schultz. But because we have a corrupt political system, anybody who is a billionaire, who can throw a lot of TV ads on television, suddenly becomes very, very credible. So what Mr. Schultz, what is he, blackmailing the Democratic Party? if you don't nominate Bernie Sanders, he's not going to run. Well, I don't think we should succumb to that kind of blackmail.
The other reason is that he represents an argument that some people make, which is if you're worried about Donald Trump, the Democratic Party, to win voters in various parts of the country, needs to pick somebody who is not so radical. That's also what his theory represents.
Well, I think his deeper theory is, hey, I'm a billionaire, leave me alone. And let me make as much money as I can without paying my fair share of taxes. He's a billionaire. He's thinking of running for president. Suddenly he's a very famous guy. That is a problem with our political system.
Well, the debate has begun.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Launched out there. I mean, to his fairness, Howard Schultz has created a company that provides health care for all of his employees and has sent thousands and provided tuition for them to go to college.
And he's been on record speaking about what he wants to do for this country. I don't know if that was quite a fair characterization of Howard Schultz.
But the point
he's so
is,
much more than just a billionaire.
Yeah, but Bernie Sanders is a key voice.
He is, and his argument is, I've been doing this and talking about this for a long time, which gives voters some sense of my commitment to these ideas. And tests in primaries are always, how committed are you really to the true ideas of our party? That's true on the right, it's true on the left. And so he will be there, whether he does well in the polls and in the voting or not, he will be there as somebody against which everybody else's plans have to be measured, and that will have an effect on the race, whether he does well or not.
We've got more coming up.
We sure do. We'll talk about capitalism, socialism, and in the next hour...
How about his age? Does he talk about that? He certainly is fired up and ready to go, to steal a term from Barack Obama's campaign.
Well, thank you for that segue, Gail.
Oh.
Yes, indeed. We talked to him about his age and a variety of other things. There is no question about the energy behind his candidacy and his ideas, that's for sure. So we got more of that coming up.
President Trump is back in Washington after a speech in Miami where he focused on the crisis in Venezuela. He urged that country's military to turn against President Nicolas Maduro, who has blocked U.S. humanitarian aid. Mr. Trump said the days of socialism and communism in Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua are numbered.
The president also repeated his vow that the U.S. will never move that far to the left.
Socialism is a sad and discredited ideology rooted in the total ignorance of history and human nature, which is why socialism eventually must always give rise to tyranny, which it does. To those who would try to impose socialism on the United States, we again deliver a very simple message. America will never be a socialist country.
The president did not directly mention the Democratic Party or any of his critics, but the speech echoed his recent criticism of domestic policies proposed by left-wing figures in Washington, including Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Bernie Sanders. Only on CBS This Morning, we spoke to Senator Sanders, the latest candidate to join the 2020 Democratic presidential race. Sanders responded to some of the president's criticisms and talked about lessons he learned from his 2016 campaign. What's your opinion of capitalism?
Look, I think what we see in this country and around the world is a lot of great entrepreneurs. But I think what is happening is some of these folks, we have a system which allows these people to accumulate huge amounts of income and wealth. So when I talk about democratic socialism, somebody wants to call me a radical. Okay, here it is. I believe that people are inherently entitled to health care. I believe people are entitled to get the best education they can. I believe that people are entitled to live in a clean environment. People are entitled to have decent paying jobs. That's what I believe.
The president mentioned socialism in his State of the Union address.
Yeah, I heard that.
What's he going after there?
Look, he's going to appeal. He's going to lie. He's going to say Bernie Sanders wants the United States to become Venezuela. Bernie Sanders does not want to have the United States become the horrific economic situation that unfortunately exists in Venezuela right now. What Bernie Sanders wants is to learn from countries around the world why other countries are doing a better job in dealing with income and wealth inequality than we are. So you got a president who is a demagogue, a president who is leading us in an authoritarian direction. I would hope that the American people don't believe too much of what he says.
Democrats, you know this well, come to you and say, you're not a Democrat. Why are you running in the Democratic primary?
Well, first of all, I am a member of the Democratic leadership. I've been in the Democratic caucus. But this is what I will also say. If you look at polling in this country, what you find is that a whole lot of people are dissatisfied with both the Democratic and Republican parties. And more people are seeing themselves as independents. So if the Democratic Party is going to do well in the future, I think they have to reach out to those independents, including, by the way, a lot of young people, a lot of people of color, and bring them into the Democratic Party. And I think I'm in a good position to do that.
There were charges in your last campaign that women felt there was discrimination against them, that there was sexism. You met with some of those former staffers. What did you learn?
I learned that was true. And it breaks my heart. And, you know, our campaign kind of exploded. We went from a few people to a lot of people, and I will be very honest in telling you that, in retrospect, some of the people that were hired should not have been hired, and some women went through experiences that they should not have. But let me also say this. In my 2018 campaign for re-election to the United States Senate from Vermont, and in this campaign for president, we are going to have the strongest protocols to protect women and anybody else against any form of harassment. We are going to be training every employee who works for us, and we're going to give people who feel that they've been harassed the opportunity to talk to people outside of the campaign. So this has been an issue that has upset me, and we're going to rectify it in this campaign.
You'll be 79 when you're inaugurated.
Yes.
That's old by the standards of presidents.
Yes.
Should people be concerned about that?
I think, you know, when we look at people, whether they're old or they're young, you got to look at the totality of the person. I'm sure you have bumped into people who are 90 who do great work. You have bumped into people who are 45 or 50. You got to wake up because they're falling asleep all of the time. I have been blessed, thank God. I'm going to knock, this is wood, I'm going to knock on it, with good health and with good energy. I was a cross-country runner, a long-distance runner when I was a kid, and I've been running hard, in a sense, since then.
Well, those are good questions, John.
Well, and we had a lot more, which will be online, about Amazon. You know, he supports those people who are protesting against Amazon coming into Long Island City. We talk again about Medicare for All. There's a lot of questions and follow-up about that. And so there's a lot more that will be online.